Panel, the big question we are asking tonight is every injury caused is in direct violation of Section 11(1)(a) of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act of 1960. And look at what has been enumerated by the Supreme Court itself in 2014. It has said ear cutting, mutilation, biting or twisting of a bull's tail, poking bulls with knives and sticks, using irritants, using nose ropes, cramped conditions and lack of food and water. All these are reasons that can be seen as cruelty to animals, and Jallikattu actually refers to all of these actions being taken against the animal, in this case the bull. So we'll ask our panel tonight on whether the Supreme Court was right in 2014 in banning Jallikattu. Joining me this evening is Dr. Suman C. Raman, political commentator, C. Rajashekharan, advocate, Madras High Court, R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, Sanjay Pinto, advocate and columnist, Gauri Mulekhi, advisor to Menaka Gandhi, well-known animal rights activist all her life despite being a union minister, Dr. Manilal Valayate, Director Veterinary Affairs, PETA India, NG Jayasimha, member of the Animal Welfare Board of India, and Arima Sundaram, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. But my first question goes out to C. Rajashekharan, advocate of the Madras High Court. Mr. C. Rajashekharan, it's a basic question. Does the Supreme Court verdict, does the rule of law matter to people in Tamil Nadu, or is emotion, culture and reference to culture everything? In fact, let me give you the statistics. Between 2008 and 2014, 4 fatalities amongst the bulls have been reported. 43 human deaths have been reported as a result of participation in Jallikattu. 5,263 injuries to participants and spectators were reported, and about 2,959 grave and serious injuries have been reported. You still advocate that this is a sport, or is it a killer sport that you are advocating here?
Navika, first and foremost, I want to tell one valid point. See, the people of Tamil Nadu are basically law-abiding citizens, disciplined citizens. They will never go against any court order. Not only the Honorable Supreme Court, even the Madras High Court order, they will not disobey. We will always go by the orders of the Honorable Supreme Court. But being so, see, when the Honorable Supreme Court had said that the Karnataka government has to release Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu, the whole state of Karnataka was burning. They didn't give water to Tamil Nadu. But there was not a single incident reported in the state of Tamil Nadu. So against Karnataka. So this is the mindset of any citizen in Tamil Nadu. And we are peace-loving people. If you understand today's protest of college students, young school children,
the question
homemakers,
is, if you are so peace-loving, why are you advocating such a killer sport? If you are so peace-loving, why are you advocating such a killer post? I've listed out the number of injuries and fatalities that have resulted due to Jallikattu.
See, every sport, every issue, you have accidents. So many incidents happen, like you drive a car, you meet with accidents, and nobody stops driving the car. You buy the purchase, the sale of cars goes high. You get all the multinational cars coming into India. So nobody stops driving. Likewise, motor vehicle accidents, motorcycle accidents happen. So they don't stop riding the motorbike.
But
so
when the court tells you, Mr. Rajashekharan, that you can drive in the national capital only on odd days with odd numbered cars and on even days with even numbered cars, you follow that order. You do not turn around and say, we will park all our cars on the middle of the road and we will not follow the Supreme Court's order. You follow the order, sir. Here the court has ruled. No, Mr. Rajashekharan, if you can get into metaphors, I will also too. The court has ruled, Arima Sundaram. That is important for the people to realize they have the right to protest. But the rule of the law is supreme. The courts have to rule. The courts have to rule.
The bull is their own child.
Wait, Rajashekharan, let's get the other panelists in.
With the best
Let's get the other panelists in. Let's get the other panelists in. Let's get the other panelists in. Rajashekaran. Rajashekaran, please. Rajashekaran, let's have a debate, please. Let's have a debate. Let's have a debate. Rajashekaran.
Calm down, Mr. Rajashekaran.
One sec, Sanjay. Sanjay, one sec. Sanjay, one sec. Arima Sundaram first and then Sanjay Pinto. Arima Sundaram first and then Sanjay Pinto. Mr. Rajashekaran, please calm down. Arima Sundaram.
There is a wrong notion about Jallikattu and Tamil.
Look, I think
Arima Sundaram.
I think let's try.
We can't control.
I mean, let's try to emulate the people of
regulating
Tamil Nadu
Jallikattu
who
even.
have so peacefully protested by also being peaceful in this debate.
Very
And
rightly
let's
said,
not
sir.
get overexcited. Let's understand two things here. See, on the one hand, you have a judgment of a court, and that judgment stands, and by the Constitution of India, Articles 141, 142, it is something which has to be obeyed by every person. On the other hand, you have people who want to protest against what they feel ought not to be the law, and they want to protest for a change of law. That's certainly permissible. They can protest for a change of law. But there's a big difference between protesting for a change of law and disobeying the law. That they cannot do. They cannot disobey the law. I do not believe that the people really have understood that this is not merely a government action. I think their whole protest, everything demanding that the government should do something, state government should do something, the central government should do something, I think seems to miss the entire point that the Supreme Court in a judicial order has held that this is a cruel, barbaric sport which cannot be continued in India. If that is so, it is a full stop which has been brought about by the Supreme Court. I do not see what and whether these people have been informed that, look, this is the law which today has been declared and that's a law of the court. The government can do nothing to overcome that law because it is a matter which the court has decided, and anything further is now sub judice. So your government, either the state or central government, cannot do anything. I do not think the people have understood that. I think basically they believe that the government can do something to overrule this judgment of the Supreme Court, which we know cannot be done. The fact of the matter is, there are two sides to everything. There's a very vociferous lot of people who are screaming and saying Jallikattu should be permitted, that it is traditional, that it is something which comes from our culture. I do not believe, I come from Tamil Nadu, I don't believe my culture told me that I should put liquor down a bull's throat,
Fair
Hmm.
that I must put green chili masala into the nose, I should twist the ear, and then I should physically bring down the bull, and it's not one person against one bull, it's 20 people running and jumping on a bull. I don't know what culture of mine showed me that, but to my knowledge, that was not the culture. The original thing of Jallikattu, even if you want to justify it, was where the bull ran and one person would try to remove from the horn of the bull a gold purse which had been kept by the king. That was actually the start. Not that these bulls are put in pens, their tail is twisted, chili powder is put in their nose, liquor is given to them, they are bitten, they are sent out in a frenzy, and 20 people run all around them, scare this bull, jump on it. I don't think that is culture. I believe that is barbaric.
Anand,
That's
I
the
believe
point,
the Supreme
Sanjay
Court
Pinto.
has
Sanjay
stated
Pinto,
and the
let me
Supreme Court order
tell
will
you
have
what
to
the
stand.
Isha Upanishad said, Sanjay Pinto. When you talk about Tamil pride, Tamil culture, Arima Sundaram is no less a Tamilian than, the Tamilians who are protesting out on the streets of Tamil Nadu today. The question is, as early as 1500 and 600 BC, in the Isha Upanishads, it has been stated that the universe along with its creatures belongs to the land. No creature is superior to any other. Human beings should not be above nature. Let no one species encroach over the rights and privileges of the other species. This has been stated in the Upanishads. So if you are such a follower of tradition, if you're such a follower of culture, if you're such a follower of faith in Tamil Nadu, then why not follow the Upanishads, what the Upanishads themselves teach you?
Alright, Navika, you've quoted from the Upanishads, let me quote from the Constitution of India. Everybody is harping on the fundamental duty under Article 51A, G and H. What about the previous clause there, Article 51A, F, which says very clearly that it shall be the duty of every citizen to protect, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. This is there in the Constitution, in the fundamental duties. However, the Supreme Court in that 2014 judgment, with all due respect to the Supreme Court, had actually relied heavily on Article 51A, G and H, which talks about compassion for living beings and so on and so forth. Also, there is also a lot of misconception. Anybody who speaks against Jallikattu is branded as somebody who's against animals, who's for cruelty. I think the narrative has to change here. This is a misconception. This is a mischievous campaign going on. It is not a bullfight.
Is Jallikattu happening the way it was supposed to happen as per tradition, Sanjay Pinto?
Prevention of Corruption Act,
Arima Sundaram raised a straightforward point. Jallikattu is coins tied to the horns of the bull, at which one person or two individuals will have a go at, and they will solicit the daughter's marriage, hand in marriage. That is what was Jallikattu in tradition. Sanjay Pinto, let me turn the argument and ask you, sir. Sir, the Honorable Supreme Court, if you read the judgment, said, Sanjay Pinto, you have to hear. Sanjay Pinto, you have to hear. The Honorable Supreme Court in its order in 2014 also said that Jallikattu today is a departure from the original tradition of Jallikattu. So the Supreme Court says you go back to the original tradition of Jallikattu, how it is, and then we will talk again. So who is responsible for that not happening today, sir? Sir, we are all for culture. We are all for culture.
List of the Constitution.
We are all for culture.
Tamil Nadu government, yes, there were certain practices.
No, Sumantraman.
But that is why the Tamil Nadu government wanted to
regulate. No. See, please understand this. Please understand this. A culture, tradition, as it was 3,000 years ago, if it is followed today, then you can make an argument that the courts have ruled wrongly. But if the videos and if evidence despite the regulations set in 2011. Yes, Sumant, one second. Let me just read this out. In 2011, what were the guidelines that were set? Hold Jallikattu 5 months a year, but only after permission from district collector. Bulls must be monitored by the Animal Welfare Board. Only 4 men against 1 bull. Don't allow spectators in the ring. Double barricades to protect innocent bystanders. Medical teams to treat the wounded men. Even then, the courts did not say you go back to what is being cited today as a 3,000-year-old tradition. Sir, who departed from the tradition the Tamil people did? Who should uphold tradition the Tamil people should? Who ruled against cruelty the courts did? Sumantraman.
This is not Spain, this is rural Tamil Nadu. There is no bullfight here, it's bull taming.
Anand, first of all, no, 1 minute. What? Can I speak, please? I've been listening patiently to everybody. Anand, please, let's get the point very clear. It's exactly the reasons that you outlined, saying that these safety precautions should be put in place. Mr. Sundaram made this point, saying that they were fed alcohol, their tails were twisted. That's the reason now. If those things happened, those people should be punished, but not banning of a sport. Look, there has been clear-cut evidence that this sport has been practiced for centuries.
Yes.
Agreed. You felt that just because it is culture or tradition, it need not be done. You have given modifications. Look, people die in boxing. People die in Formula 1. This happens all the time.
Jallikattu, that's a point well taken, Suman Raman. But let me also get in Gauri Muleki.
Free will.
So you should know, Navika, you're not getting the point.
The question here is, has the ban actually happened because the guidelines were not followed?
Not against the sport. You don't.
That's a point well taken, Suman Raman, and that's the question I'm taking to Gauri Muleki. Gauri Muleki, is animal rights actually coming on? It's infringing on the rights of the people to follow their own culture.
Excuse me.
Absolutely not. In fact, they both go hand in hand.
If he can't run,
you're not getting my point.
Maybe more.
If rules are laid down, no, you answer my question.
Now we first have to understand that the Tamil Nadu Jallikattu Regulation Act was brought in 2009. And
Suman Raman, Gauri Muleki speaking. Please wait for your turn. Suman Raman.
When the regulation when the regulation was brought in, and the Supreme Court appointed a committee to monitor the event when it was happening as per the regulation. It was noticed that the regulation had no meaning. It was being flouted like anybody's business, and a lot of people were injured. Here, if we just put animal welfare aside, if we just forget about animal welfare, I have a list
if it was flouted, what does one do? You take action against the people who flouted it. You don't ban the sport.
Dozens of events that happened in which people have died. Thousands of people have been getting injured. That was also one of the reasons why the Supreme Court thought that there was no necessity to hold the event in a manner that it's being held
dozens
right
of
now.
sports.
Because and another point that I would have to make right here is that Jallikattu, right now we can see a whole lot of protesters at the Marina Beach. But if you look at it originally, it's confined to just 2 or 3 districts of Tamil Nadu. Most of these poor people who have gathered there today do have a sense of, that the Tamil pride is being hurt, but they don't even know what Jallikattu is. They don't even know how it's being happened. They are not the ones who participate in this event. They are not the ones who are stakeholders in this event at all. Those that were
so our babies stakeholders. Are baby stakeholders in rural in Karnataka where there is a baby tossing ritual? Latmar Holi, men save their heads with shields. How is that fair? How is that fair? There is no stone pelting festival. Stone felled between two on Raksha Bandhan day. How is that fair? And where is the opinion on some other traditions which are there? No, why is it that the Jain custom of Santara was not intervened in? Why is it that they have not ruled on female genital mutilation among certain communities? Why is it that ban on loudspeakers during during religious festivals has not been entertained? But so if the courts can have an opinion, if the courts can rule on Jallikattu, this is another argument. This is another argument which I am trying to put forth. Arima Sundaram, this is another argument I am trying to put forth, that there is a sentiment today, there is a reason why this protest has happened, Arima Sundaram. It's not about just a court ruling, it's also about why is it that only Jallikattu has been singled out. And this is how it emanates.
And Arima Sundaram,
this is where it emanates, Arima Sundaram. Why is it that when Karnataka does not give Tamil Nadu water, there is no approach?
Tomorrow whether Holi has to be played because men actually misbehave after consuming alcohol, so Holi should also be banned. Will such decisions now be within the purview of the judiciary?
When human beings are participating in an event, there is free will.
Decision on everything, whatever is related with religion and culture will be decided by the judiciary, and governments and people's will can be completely let aside. Is that the case we are actually supporting at this point?
Pardon my saying it, but I think what you are referring to is an argument being taken by some people which really comes from a basic misunderstanding or misapprehension of what the actual facts are, which is this. You are right in saying the courts would deal with various issues in different ways. You're referring to Holi, you're referring to other things. What everybody seems to be missing in this case is that there is an act. This is not a case of a court suo moto saying, I am going to interfere in a cultural event, whether it's a cultural event, whether it's should be permitted. That is not the case here at all. There is a Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Under that, the bull was included in the schedule and was not allowed to be a performing animal. The union government also had brought out a notification at that time saying the bull is a performing animal and an act against the bull is an act of cruelty. Now this was the act, this came to be challenged, the challenge came to court because of a dispute over the interpretation of the notification, the interpretation of the act. And what the court was thereafter concerned with for the 2014 judgment was a case as to whether the Jallikattu would amount to an act of cruelty under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, and if it was an act of cruelty under that act, whether it could be permitted to continue. The examples you're giving regarding Holi and loudspeakers, etc., these are not covered by any statutes. Those are cases where you're saying the court should suo moto act in public interest. This is really a case which is already covered by legislation. And all that the court did was to enforce the legislation, and this seems to be forgotten by everybody, and everybody takes it as though the court has intervened and reached into an area where there is, which is not a court
Mr.
jump.
Sundaram,
So please understand that the origin of this
was on the basis of 5 or 6
is
videos.
the court exercising its constitution. Please allow me to finish.
Arima Sundaram, Suman C. Raman is responding to you. Arima Sundaram, Suman C. Raman is responding to you. Before I go across to Dr. Manilal Valiate, Suman C. Raman making a point to you, Mr. Arima Sundaram.
In 2012, if somebody made a mistake in 2012 or 13 and violated the rules, please go ahead and punish them. You can't ban a sport. In every sport, the principle is if somebody violates the rules, they are punished. You don't say that people stop playing that sport because somebody violated the rules.
Sir,
so if the rules were violated in 11 or in 12 or in 13, then strict action could have been taken. But extending this argument,
I want to put one question to you.
One minute, sir. I just want to finish my point.
The point is this.
In Andhra Pradesh,
under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, Jallikattu is not permissible. Now, unless you amend that act, today all that the Supreme Court has done is given effect to the act.
On what basis did the Honorable Supreme Court make that decision? On the basis of the videos.
However well it is performed,
it
runs
was on the
foul of the
basis of
Prevention
the
of
videos,
Cruelty
Mr.
to Animals Act,
You
and
know as
therefore
well
has
as I
to be
do,
banned.
it was on the basis of 5 or 6 videos.
From where were these videos solicited?
No, 1 minute.
Sumant Raman, where were these videos solicited? Sumant Raman, please understand.
Was on the basis of those videos.
Sumant Raman, please understand. Please, just give me 30 seconds to
Anand,
clarify one point.
Exactly
To all our panelists and to all our viewers,
please answer my question.
Please, one sec. Sumant Raman, there are 3-4 questions.
1 minute.
Please. Let me just clarify this before we go forward. Let me just clarify this, please. Sumant Raman, allow me 30 seconds. Just 2-3 aspects which need to be clarified. There is no dispute that Jallikattu is a historical tradition that goes back beyond more than 3,500 years as far as the Dravidian culture is concerned. There is no dispute on that. The question tonight is not about culture and tradition. The question is, there is a sentiment that there was a certain element of judicial overreach when the ban on Jallikattu happened. Secondly, the aspect is, how far is the state, the government, the people of Tamil Nadu are responsible for the degradation of a tradition to what it's become today, which is being considered as outright cruelty to animals. So if that is the case, should we then make an argument to go back to tradition, to ensure the bulls are not harmed, and to come back with a stipulated guideline which will be very forcefully enacted. Now, Suman C. Raman argues tonight, and NG Suman C. Raman argues tonight that it was a handful of videos, that have led to this ban. It is unfair. It is those people who should have been pulled up. That's the argument Sumant Raman is making. NG Jasima, where do you stand on this? The courts today believe the way Jallikattu is conducted today in Tamil Nadu, it is outright cruelty to animals. NG Jasima.
The following year,
right. There is a fundamental flaw in it, is that when it comes to boxing, when it comes to cricket, when it comes to football, there are free will of the players. The players enter into the game knowing very well that there is a chance of them being hurt. When it comes to bullocks who are made or bulls who are made to run in Jallikattu arena, there is no free will. These animals are incited by their tails broken, their eyes rubbed, chili pepper put into their nose, alcohol fed, and they're incited to run. So let's make a difference. And even when it comes to car accidents, we must realize that cars don't feel pain, whereas bullocks feel or bulls feel pain.
So the bulls have a voluntary option of saying no when they're taken to the slaughterhouse.
To make it seem like bulls are entering into this with free will is completely wrong. Now, when it comes to the videos and it comes to regulation, to also say that this regulation idea is a new thing is also completely wrong. When the Madurai bench first initially prohibited it, there was a Tamil Nadu Jallikattu Regulation Act. That act had regulation. Then the Supreme Court laid down its own set of regulation. Then the Supreme Court appointed committees to monitor it. There was a report that was given and the collector was part of this particular committee. And based on the report that the collector gave, based on the report that the Animal Welfare Board, which is a statutory body established under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, gave, that is when the Supreme Court came to a matter of finding, a fact finding that Jallikattu is intrinsically cruel. Here, what I would like to say is that while we are arguing with all of these things, I think that we need to praise the youth of Tamil Nadu for following the law and order. They do have the right to protest and we should respect that right to protest, unlike the neighboring state of Andhra Pradesh, where they completely broke the law on cockfighting and did not care about law at all. Tamil Nadu has at least gone a step further and ensured that the law and order is maintained. The central government this time has gone ahead and ensured that they haven't brought in an executive order like they did like last time. Let's use the constitutional process and let's not get carried away by emotions here. There is a law, there is a law.
People who have come out and protested today have done so keeping the law in mind. They haven't broken the law, but they are protesting. They are demanding a re-look at the law, which they are well within their rights to do.
Which is
the
fair
question
enough.
is, and let me get in R. Rajagopalan, who hasn't spoken so far. R. Rajagopalan and Dr. Manilal Valiate, both of them haven't spoken.
Yeah,
so let me get in. 1 minute, Mr. Rajagopalan, let me ask you the question. Mr. Rajagopalan, Jallikattu has two components. Jalli, which translates into coins, and Kattu, which means a bundle, which indicates a yellow pouch of coins tied to the bull's horn, and when traditionally it means hugging the bull. Then where did this cruelty actually come in? Nobody has any problem with the original form of the Jallikattu.
There is no cruelty. There is no cruelty to the animal. Animal is being worshipped in Tamil Nadu. It's a matter of pride for a Tamilian to have that, control that bull through its horn. That is why I differ from Mr. Arima Sundaram. Whatever he said, these are all certain miscalculations. Tamil Nadu having that Jallikattu is a pride for Tamilian. None can stop that, including the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court should revisit it. Otherwise, it is going to be
a law as of now laid down by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court still has to give its verdict.
They can revisit this. And moreover, whatever we have discussed, we have to discuss very important point. This in 2012, as Mr. Arima Sundaram said, this act was amended by Jairam Ramesh during his tenure as Union Minister for Environment. It is Congress gift to Tamil Nadu. And today the roads and marina beaches are blocked. Thanks that, Tamil Nadu, traditionally peace-loving state, today we feel the absence of Jayalalitha. Because if she was there, she would not have allowed this to happen. The leadership of O. Pannirselvam failed. The leadership of Sasikala failed. That is why this type of dramas are happening.
But what stood out, Mr. Rajagopalan, Mr. Rajagopalan, is that today the uprising in Tamil Nadu is not politically driven. It is the people who believe that they have not got their due.
Because
and it is these people to whom a correct answer is owed. A correct answer is owed, saying that those who should have upheld tradition, sir, those who should have upheld tradition and those who have allowed a custom to denigrate to a level where it is cruelty, sir, please do not deny that it was out of Tamil. It was out of Tamil Nadu. I'm going to go across to Dr. Manilal. Thank you for your patience, sir. It was out of Tamil Nadu that these videos first emerged. Why did they emerge in the first place? Why did the Tamil people not come out and outrightly condemn this kind of treatment to the livestock, to the bull, which they so respect? Why did that not happen? The court ruling aside, rule of the law, rule of the land aside, I'm just talking about the sentiment of the people today, where they feel that justice is not being done to the Tamil people. It's the Tamil people and their traditions, customs and their ways of life that are being impacted. They have an ire, and this is all manifesting in Jallikattu. They are saying the Supreme Court ruled on Kaveri waters. What is happening there? Why aren't we getting the waters? Farmers are suffering because of that. If there is no pride in the livestock, Dr. Manila, if there is no, this is the argument. Please understand the sentiment of the people who are out on streets today. This is the argument. If our cattle are suffering, if farmers are committing suicide, there is an agrarian problem. And if Jallikattu restores some amount of pride and some amount of why deny that to the people? Is there a rationale to this argument, or would you want to come back, Dr. Manilal, and say that go back to the old tradition and stop the cruelty? Dr. Manilal, can you hear me?
Yeah,
go ahead.
So, what I want to say is one violation is not a justification for another violation. One kind of cruelty is not a justification for another kind of cruelty. So, I'm not even talking about the Supreme Court judgment. I'm talking about the 1960 law, which very clearly says under section 3 that it is the duty of the person, the owner of the animal, to make sure that there is no unnecessary suffering to the animal. So the law itself says what necessary suffering is and what is unnecessary suffering is. The law also says that animal fightings are prohibited. It is considered as cruelty. The Supreme Court further interpreted it as animal fighting could be a fight between the animals, a fight between animal and a human. Now, whatever is being done is as per the constitution, as per the law, and that is exactly the Supreme Court have interpreted. So it didn't came in 2014. I would say we as Indians considered these forms of unnecessary suffering as cruelty in 1960, and it is a parliament enacted law, and it is not something which PETA pushed. It is not something PETA is responsible for, because PETA being a soft target, now it's everywhere that PETA did it. How can PETA enforce the law? I mean, PETA is a law-abiding body. PETA cannot create laws. PETA can only ask for responsible people to protect the animals, prevent them from suffering, prevent the cruelty. And that is exactly what we did. And we have a law in place. We have a judgment in place. Why don't we respect it?
Aryama Sundaram, coming back to you, Aryama Sundaram, there is a certain amount of, looking after of the bulls before the sport that actually happens in Tamil Nadu. These bulls are reared, they are looked after, they are trained.
For 6 months training was given, for 6 months.
Yeah, people invest
Thousands
a lot of money.
depend on that.
1 minute. People invest a lot of money, a lot of effort in rearing these bulls. The fact that you stop the sport will also take away all the rearing that happens. It will probably put these bulls up for the slaughterhouses. Is that an okay alternative for something like this? Has the Supreme Court looked at these kind of issues when it has actually gone out and banned? And why is it looking at, I mean, are these issues also supposed to be looked at when it revisits its own judgment on the case of Jallikattu?
You know, I've heard this question being asked earlier, and I always wanted whether I should answer it by saying, why don't you allow me to keep a tiger which I will rear very well, and then I will use that tiger to make fights and to kill goats for people to watch and do all this, because otherwise it's very possible that tiger will have to go back and we'll have to shoot that tiger. That is not the answer. The question is, of course people rear these bulls, spend money on the bulls, because the fact of the matter is a good bull, a prize bull, commands a big price. There are Jallikattu champion bulls, as they call it, which have sold for large amounts of prize. So it's like keeping a prize horse or a prize bull. That's why the money is being spent. But that does not mean that if it did not have the prize, the bull is going to be ill-treated. In that case, can I ask you, if it have a whole lot of animals are not being kept for entertainment, for prizes and for prize fighting, does that mean those animals should be cruelly treated? Far from it. That is not our system at all.
Sanjay Pinto, the question here is...
You see, please, let me just finish with one last point.
The question here is, Sanjay Pinto, once again, let's look at the people who've come out on the streets in Tamil Nadu. They come out, it's a natural uprising that's taken place. We are calling it the Jallikattu uprising. It's it's something that people have just taken and it's coming right from the heart. But do you blame political parties also in this entire issue? Because they've been passing the buck on taking a decision. Whether it is the centre now, whether it's the Congress earlier. Do you think this entire issue should have been looked at through legislations before complaining about judicial activism? Should the politicians have looked at it closely rather than blame the courts for it?
Okay, Navika, nobody has still answered my question about Article 51AF, which is fundamental duty of all citizens that they shall preserve and protect the rich heritage and composite culture. While there's been no answer to that, the example about the tiger, I think it's really not the best example. The tiger is a wild animal, the bull is a domestic animal here, so the comparison would be odious in my humble opinion. This was, you're right, this was a spontaneous protest. You saw college students who are no way connected to any political party. As far as the political overtones are concerned, Tamil Nadu had passed the Jallikattu Regulation Act in 2009 in order to address some of the cruel incidents that were taking place, which were videographed. The Supreme Court struck down that as unconstitutional, saying, citing Article 254(1) of the Constitution, saying it's repugnant to the central law, which is the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Interestingly, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act itself falls under the concurrent list. So, why didn't the central government, promulgate an ordinance in this case? Why didn't we have an ordinance? That is what the people of Tamil Nadu are upset about.
Correct.
Why has the centre not really come to the rescue and come
But
and,
why is it, Sanjay Pinto, that you are also not telling the people of Tamil Nadu?
Why don't they actually uphold the culture and the Tamil pride of the people here? That's
why
my
is it,
question.
Why is it, sir, that you are also not telling the people of Tamil Nadu that Jallikattu in its original form, Jallikattu in its traditional form, can never be banned? Jallikattu, as the tradition for Tamil Nadu is concerned,
see, I want to ask Anand,
the way this bull taming sport should be played.
Will you advocate the guillotine for dandruff?
If you were to tell, why is it that nobody, all of us, all the people on the panel tonight are against cruelty to animals, but that doesn't mean they are against Jallikattu. All of us here want to uphold tradition and custom. But if the original form of Jallikattu, nobody is saying tonight that let's go back to conducting Jallikattu the way it should be. And then let's make an argument in front of the courts. Why is the state not saying that we will go back to the original tradition of Jallikattu and we will ensure that it is implemented? Why is that promise not being made by any leader or any voice in Tamil Nadu today?
Malaysia, let them talk about the seals.
Why is that not being said by any Tamil voice today? Why is that not being said by any Tamil voice today?
If there is a fire accident in Sivakasi, will you ban the manufacture of crackers during Diwali?
No. Now you are again diverting my question. What is my question? What is my question? My question is, who is responsible for Jallikattu coming down to the state where it is today? The way it is being played out today or practiced today? Who is responsible? Isn't the state responsible? Aren't the leaders who are talking, who are invoking Tamil pride responsible? Aren't they responsible? Where are they today? Why aren't they saying that we will ensure? Why aren't they saying today? Why aren't they saying tonight that we will go back to what Jallikattu is? We will uphold what Jallikattu is.
Guillotine for dandruff. That is my point.
Oh, how is that argument valid, Sanjay Pinto? How is that argument valid, Sanjay Pinto? It is under the very nose of the state that this brutal treatment was allowed to the bull.
An ordinance cannot be brought in.
What was your question? Sorry, Anand. What was your question?
My question is, sir, why are the Tamil people not being told by the leaders today? Why is the AIADMK leadership? Why is the DMK leadership? No. Why is the DMK leadership?
Anand asked me that question.
Yeah.
Why are we feeding this narrative that an ordinance can be brought in?
No.
Ordinance can be brought in to frustrate the order of the Supreme Court.
Sir, what I am trying to say is,
they can amend it.
The ordinance issue aside, the ordinance issue, that issue aside, NG Jasima. What I am saying is, why aren't?
They can take away the bull from the list.
No, please. I need this answer, sir. I need this answer today because I have had every actor, every political leader come out today and say Jallikattu is tradition. Jallikattu is our culture. But nobody has come out and said that the right Jallikattu as our culture is not the Jallikattu that is being practiced today in Tamil Nadu. That should change. Why is that not being said, sir?
There seems to be a complete disconnect between what happens on the ground and what is being given as a narrative.
Exactly.
When it comes to the law. People, last year, Mr. Javadekar, when he brought in the notification, he knew very well and there was a legal opinion knowing very fact that it would get struck down. They went ahead and kindled the hopes of the Tamil people because there was an election that is coming in by bringing in an executive order that finally got struck down.
It also happened during the UPA regime.
People. Then there was this whole narrative of the fact that we would bring in an ordinance, and that is again frustrated. Then when there were sessions of parliament that have taken place, if there was a serious intent to bring in this, then they should have brought in an act and used the democratic process rather than doing that, there's this constant push to say that let the executive do and let the executive do an overreach. There hasn't been a judicial overreach in this matter. What has happened is an executive overreach, and people are pushing for an executive overreach, which is
are you willing to give a declaration on the Newshour today that the sport as it exists today is not the cultural sport that you're talking about? Yes, I'm asking you, Sumansi Raman. Hear the question before you make your point.
Navika,
the question I'm asking you, Sumansi Raman, is are you willing to give a declaration that you will go back and actually propound a sport that is in the traditional sense, the gold coin, pouch and the hugging of the animal sport, not the torturing of the animal sport?
Navika,
if you're willing for that declaration, then clearly politicians can get together and find a way to get a legislation.
1 minute.
Quick 10-second. Quick 10-second comment. Are you willing to give that declaration?
Let me state it here.
Give a straight answer.
No.
Are you willing for that declaration?
The protesters and the government, nobody.
It's all very right for activists to come and selectively quote the law.
You're again giving a long-winded answer. You're not willing to give that declaration. If you're willing to give that declaration, you should be saying yes tonight. That's why people on the streets of Chennai and people on the streets of the rest of Tamil Nadu, all are salutes to them because they're protesting about a cause. They're protesting about the tradition of Jallikattu being upheld in Tamil Nadu, but they're doing so peacefully. They're asking for the relook at that law. But if they give a declaration that Jallikattu will revert back to its original form, where it looked at the bull carrying the gold coins and a hug from the human being, then is it a sport that can be relooked once again by governments and by parliament to relook at that legislation? That's the big question. Thank you very much to all our panelists, because that's the only declaration can make governments revisit this entire issue. Otherwise, it will always be left, the tough decisions will be left to the courts to take. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.